So welcome to the Curious Community Podcast. I'm so stoked about having you here. Raili Clasen, am I saying that right?
No, but that's okay. Clasen, I know.
No. So Raili Clasen.
Raili Clasen.
I think I'm looking for two S's.
Oh, and and then people throw.
But I don't even know if that's a grammatical rule. I just made that up.
I think
Raili Clasen.
Ellis Island dropped a
which is
consonant.
fine. I mean, they changed my whole lot. Con used to look way more French Jewish, and then it looked like Connecticut all of a sudden. Like we were at the University of Connecticut. So Raili Clasen. Yeah. So glad to have you here on the Curious Community Podcast. I'm going to read her bio from her book. I'm going to hold her book up because it is so amazing. My friend Lee got me a signed copy, and I'm like loving it. Everyone buy this. Such a great gift.
Yes, everyone buy it.
Yeah, just today. Okay, Raili Clasen stumbled into the interior design industry, which blows my mind a little bit, when her own designer moved out of the country. And she wanted to try her hand at designing her own home, which I think this is a great origin story, which I love. And I love that it wasn't like when you were in your 20s. I love that you did it like this is like a second chapter or third, maybe. You'll tell us how many chapters you've had. I mean, this book has a lot of chapters and they're all great. That you just jumped right in with 2 feet. That seems like your personality, but we'll get to know you more on this podcast. The finished result of her foray into, like de facto design landed you in magazines, like immediately.
Yeah.
Which I remember seeing that was the house on St. James.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The first one.
Yeah. So I was like blown away when it was on the Newport Harbor home tour. And I was like, what have I walked into? And I knew it was something different and special. Cause I was working at that point in luxury real estate marketing for the people, John McMonagle and all the people. And I had seen everything down here. Like I had been into every house. I got totally jaded, like seeing a $30 million house. I'm like, who cares? And then I walk in there and I'm like blown. So we're going to talk about Mind Blown. Her eclectic California surf style, which I think captures it so well because it is, but it's more also. Like when you're in Pebble Beach, it's like, or
in Montana.
Yeah, it's kind of interpreted into. But your early origins were at Raisins swimwear, which I still remember. I didn't know if it's still around, but I love it. Could never wear it because I had too big of a booty, but it was an aspirational brand for me and my booty. And then California cool brands like Quicksilver, Roxy, Paul Frank, and Alice Supply Company, which I loved. The Garden. Yeah. And she has basically like a design with a wink, which I think seems like that's who you are. Because you've got a great sense of humor. So I feel like, how are you going to design without a wink?
Yeah, I love the wink part.
Right?
I didn't come up with that. Somebody else did. And I was like, I think I'm going to run with this.
Was that your co-author that came up with it?
No, it was actually it was like one of the first podcasts I did like 10 years ago. And he wrote it.
No pressure. Now I have to come up with a tagline for you?
Well, I'd take that one. I think that's free.
So anyway, I made up design with a wink. No kidding. So it's so perfect for you. It captures what you do. And so now you and your team, which keeps growing, which is so exciting to see that you're giving other people a chance to like get into the industry and learn under you and develop their own style and be part of it, which I just love the support of, especially women. Ranges. So your work ranges from funky 1920s beach cottages to new construction at the Yellowstone Club. Kelly Slater's famous surf ranch, no big deal. Her work has been featured on TV shows including HBO, Beach Cottage Chronicles, which everyone tells me, did you see her on HBO? Chip and Joanna Gaines, Magnolia Network, and more. And you've been in Architectural Digest, which is like winning an Oscar. House Beautiful, Dwell, Coastal Living, Domino, et cetera, et cetera. So Raili Clasen. And your firm, how do you say the name of it so I get it right?
So it's Raili CA, like California Design.
Love it.
Which, when I named I didn't name it in 5 minutes because I was doing my LLC or whatever.
With a wink.
And I'm like, oh my
gosh.
With
a wink and a prayer.
Why don't we do, this sounds like a great idea. Well, no, my accountant doesn't know. She's like, Raili Ka, and it was, I wouldn't say that was the best decision I made.
I feel like aesthetically it is though.
Yeah, I love how it works in my logo.
It's aesthetic, but it's like, how do I say it? Yeah. Just like Clasen, like I would sing Clasen, like I put an umlaut over your A, which is like, I know your family's from Finland, but I don't think they use umlauts there.
Maybe that's my married.
Or they use that little circle. Yeah, which I don't even know what that's called, but I love it, a little circle over a vowel.
I do too.
Okay, so I hinted at your backstory. Yeah. Your style tips its hand about your backstory, but like tell me like the growing up, how did you develop like your aesthetic, not just for interior design, but like life? Like why were you so like enamored with surf style on the beach?
It's so funny because it just was what I was. I chased around surfer boys. That's
who didn't. Some with us with more success than others. I think I'm 0 for 10 on that.
For 10.
Yeah.
But maybe I had one in there, but it was. I'm there. But it was, that's who we all glommed onto is the surfer boys. So I took not one but two buses from my house to get to Seal Beach, and there they were.
Yeah.
And so, but also what I loved, and I didn't realize it really till I was doing this book, is and that book tears it apart. Like, well, what's here
like,
I'll
what's
do a whole
this
house.
inspiration?
Yeah,
what's that?
Yeah, what's in it? And a lot of it comes back to natural woods of boardwalks.
Yeah.
Like I can't think of a house I've done with. I love the boardwalk.
Is it
entrance.
almost subliminal though? Like,
Probably
are you
has
even
to
like
be,
thinking
right?
like boardwalk? You're not thinking boardwalk.
When 10 years
Necessarily.
later I am.
But when you were doing it, was it just like, I like this?
Yeah, and I was like, this reminds me of, of boardwalks or whatever. And then color, as you see in my book, I painted my whole room yellow, and
that's one of my favorite pictures in the book. It's not
hysterical.
styled, or maybe you did style it. You were like probably 8, but it just spoke
messy,
to your vibe though, like colorful, bold. Letters, words,
typography. So growing up at the beach, and we lived in Los Alamitos, so we're a tiny bit landlocked, but we were just on fire for that. We wanted to live the surfer life, and we were just a little bit inland. So I rode my 10-speed down there over and over again, and then I got into the surf industry. So hanging out with the creatives, especially at Quicksilver, Steve, I glommed onto him and like.
Oh, Steve Jones.
Steve Jones.
No, I mean,
right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's pretty insane.
I really
you did. You
dedicate.
gave him props in this book. He is a genius.
He's a genius, and he just, I was in sales for all that, but I glommed on. I went to the parties, where the creatives went.
Yeah, well, they're more fun.
And
sales is fun though. The sales guys are fun.
Yeah, they were all fun, but I was so drawn to this, to what they were doing, and I to this day. Outside of interior design and clothing fashion, I still think surf industry creatives are some of the most creative people I've ever seen in my life, because they don't study it. They just it's all.
I was thinking that with like Danny Kwok. Like when I think about all like the neon and stuff coming in,
and polka dots
I feel like that was at that time, because I was at CDM at that time, and I remember going, oh my gosh, like what are these shorts? Like what is this T-shirt? Like it was rad. No one was doing it.
Yeah.
And I was blown away by it. And I can see how, like, especially because you've got a creative design mind, like, you would be, like, totally immersed in it. Like, I was just a consumer that liked cool stuff. Like, I don't...
But you were right. Like, probably about that time, the surf industry became more than the surf industry. Chanel was doing surf.
Everybody was taking
Louis
leads
Vuitton
from that.
was doing surf. And it was like, wow, what's going on here? I mean, it had its moment for 10 years.
Yeah, and it still does. It still comes around like a Chanel surfboard. I've seen that, like, right? So I feel like and then Steve Jones, I can never forget, like when he did the Roxy or the Quicksilver store, it might have been like a hybrid store at South Coast Plaza when it first opened. I remember, and I'm not even like a merchandising geek or like a visual, merchandising. And I'm like, walked in there and I was like, what is this?
What is this? Yeah, same.
As a consumer.
Same.
I'm like, this is blowing me away.
And I remember like what we were getting, I was helping him get ready for like a Christmas party or something. And he brings all these trees. And I'm like, this is so great. And he's like, okay, everybody, let's start hanging these things. I'm like, hanging? Like hung all of them upside down. I'm like, this is the thing. Yeah. That nobody, like, this is the thing.
But you connected with it at a deep level.
Yes. I was
so like growing up, aside from chasing, surfer boys, which is like part of like the starter kit for like living in any part of inland or otherwise Orange County, right? I mean, I grew up in the same way. Yeah. Where are you going? I'm following you.
Yeah.
As fast as my 10 speed or the bus, the 2 buses with my transfer, my little newsprint transfer will take me. Were you creative? Like, I mean, obviously sales is creative, but like, were you doing things like, were you playing with like color forms, or were you coloring stuff? Like, were you expressing yourself artistically?
Yes, I was, and I didn't figure that out. Like, I remember making, like, I started going to flea markets with one of the Roxy designers, and then we would bring all this broken tile home and this dilapidated table, and we'd tile a table, which I wish I still had those.
Was that like for fun or for inspo?
Fun.
Or
okay, fun, just fun. So the people I was starting to hang out with were very DIY, and I just locked in, and then, it never was a huge part of my life because I always had a job, like and then kids and all that. But no, now looking back, it all makes perfect sense.
Like you can see the backstory, the origin story was back there, the threads there.
Yeah, I didn't know what an interior designer was.
Well, and I
20
kind of
years
like,
ago, I didn't.
I feel like I kind of know, but I don't. And I want to talk about that today because it seems like you do more than just shop for cool things.
Yeah.
So with the first house that we were talking
Yes.
about, that you talk about in the bio of the book.
Yeah.
So like, where did your interior designer just like had to go somewhere?
She got engaged.
Oh, well,
And
if
you
she
would
has
know,
to.
you know who she is. Probably.
Okay, we don't have to drop her name
That's
just in
okay.
case.
She's
Because
great.
we're not going to throw shade at her. I'm just saying,
No,
like,
no.
It launched, like, it was like the thing that launched a million ships. Like,
I
we're
wanna
thankful.
find her and send her
thank
flowers.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she, so I saw her house not her, but I think it was her parents' house on the home tour. And I'm like, there's nobody else
Yes.
in this community that has that vibe, whatever she's got.
I want it for my house.
Well, I just thought, oh, this is fresh and it's exciting and it's different. And the way that she lined up books was cool. And so I hired her. We bought this ranch house. It was literally going down
The coolest lot, though.
great lot. In fact, I redid it. I got to redo it for the next client. But so we talked and talked, and she started gathering her things, and then she called and said, I got engaged. I'm like, that's awesome. Congratulations. I'm moving to London like Saturday. So I'm like, okay. I wasn't bummed at all. I was just more like,
Right.
So then I'm like, and this is
Oh, now I know who
before-
you're talking about. This
Do
is
you?
so amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
So she goes, and no love
Right.
lost.
No, of course.
We just-
I'm not saying I know, like, I'm excited to know because I think she's great.
Yeah. So she goes, and then I'm equipped. At this point, Pinterest isn't around.
Okay.
I'm too intimidated to go to the design center because I'm not a designer.
Right.
Although now I look at it and like, I should have.
Yeah.
And I had a West Elm catalog, and I went to the flea market, and I had Restoration Hardware, and I had a Coastal Tile here on 17th. Like that
Those
was
were your
my
sources.
that was it. Period. Done. I didn't know. I was not going to go to the design center in LA.
Okay.
Because I'm like, they're going to know I'm a fraud.
Yeah. Like, I don't want to be called out.
I don't want to be called out. I don't want to get like. I don't want.
And maybe they wouldn't let you play like you wanted to play.
They
I don't
would
know.
have. Now that I know it, like they would have. But I was just too. It wasn't even an intimidation thing. It was like, I'm going to cut my teeth other ways for a minute.
Right.
And then.
Well, where you're comfortable. You've
Yeah.
already been sourcing at flea markets for fun
Yeah,
projects.
totally.
So.
And I
okay.
was like, oh, what projects have you done? None.
I did a tiled table. Have you seen it?
On the weekend.
I put
think it's
cards
in
in
the
my
trash.
10-speed spokes. Have you seen that work of mine and the stickers?
I know. So that's kind of. That's
I
really
need that house. So like,
Yeah.
you're just like, I'm just going to make it me? Like, was there like a,
Oh wow. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, was there a thought process?
Yeah. I mean, I had to get. You tore stuff out of magazines.
Like a yellow pipe or something? Like
Something like
in
that.
the bathroom? Like, I don't know. Like, didn't
we
you
had-
paint like, or
yeah, I
something,
had-
something
I
was
painted
happening?
a lot of stuff yellow.
There was a surfboard. I don't know if
Yeah.
thermoses were in that house yet or not.
Not that
Maybe that
one
was
yet.
Lido.
That was next one.
But like, there were like cool old, like paint by numbers, like
Yeah.
paintings. And so like, did you say like, was it as intentional as like, this is my aesthetic?
No, it was more like, that's cool. Let's put it up. That's cool. Like when I went back in to redo it
Yeah.
2 years ago, because we added on.
So what were your thoughts seeing it?
I was like, I cannot believe I picked that tile. It was like this 3D tile, and the flooring was not from Lumber Liquidators, and the planks came, and they just threw the planks on the driveway, and they were all like this big, and my contractor's like, I know you saved a lot of money. This ain't working.
Yeah, no, you're going to spend it on the back end
that
with me
was the
installing
first-
it.
That was the first, like I messed up. You just do. You got,
Yeah,
but I
that's how
call
you
it my
learn.
master's degree. Like my mess up degree is my master's degree.
I mean,
in that
that's so
house.
great because it's like, and now you're doing like idea houses, which I want to talk about. I mean, would you say that was your first idea house? Because you were like throwing things at the wall
But I
and
had
see what
no
sticks.
idea because I was still doing Alice Supply. Like I
Yes.
wasn't doing interior design.
Which was so cool, and you used some of that in there. And for people that don't know, did you all sell that company? I mean,
yeah, we did. And they
the
didn't do
coolest-
anything
It's
with
stuff
it.
that like now I like gardening because I'm like,
So you look
yeah,
cute
but
gardening.
like, yeah, it was like the cutest, like the hose with like really bright, like jewel tone, like stripes
And
on it or
a little
something.
stripe on the handle,
The
plunger.
cutest
toilet bowl.
stuff. Yeah, like amazing. But how did that even
So
come out of your brain? Did you have a partner on that?
yeah, Maria. You know my friend Maria? She's my bestie.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So Maria
Style for
and
days.
I started it together, and it got so much. Like we went to the New York Design Show. The press was like a
Crazy
10.
for it.
Sales because it was really expensive stuff.
Yeah, it was niche.
So it was a niche boutique, high end.
Yes.
Henry Bendel, So it was super fun, and that's how probably I started designing. That's how it got in the magazines because they're like, okay, you did this cool company. What does your house look like? I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no, you don't want that. But then
they did.
Then they did, yeah.
And then you thought they didn't want it because they hadn't seen that
the
before.
one before.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like the one before.
The one I was living in. Then we bought this house. And I'm like,
so
yeah,
not
you
St.
might
James.
want to. You might want to see it now. So that's kind of how that happened.
So how do you like decide to take the leap then from like, because we talk about like, there's the jobs that pay the bills, right? Especially when you have multiple children and there's colleges and everything, mortgages. How do you decide to take the leap like to doing design? And like, how does that even happen over a certain amount of time? Like,
no, it was a leap. So it literally was a leap because I was winding down. We were selling Alice.
Okay.
And Ryan was like
her husband.
My husband, it was, he had a great job at Vans, and he was like, that's what I was telling people. Like, people are all like, how do I dive in? I'm like, first of all, I don't want to give you any wrong impression that you can dive in and start making money on this job.
Right, like someone has to be paying the bill. So like
I've saved, and I had good jobs before that, so it was not such a leap.
No, it wasn't like we're going to eat beans every night for the rest of our lives.
So so that home tour was coming up, and I'm like, this was really fun, and I knew it was going to be a magazine. I'm like, I'm just going to print up some business cards and make a name. And if they
is that when you had to do the Raili CA?
Yeah, exactly. And I said, I'm going to make a name, and I would put these things out. And it was so funny. I was like, how business cards are like? They're like $4 for 100, right?
Yeah.
Well, I was questioning myself.
You're like, I don't know if I've got $4,
or do I want 200 for the extra 5?
Right.
And so I got a stack. I don't remember what it was, 200. And I'm like, if they're still here, I know my answer. And they were all gone.
That's a lot of pressure to put on those business cards. I'm just going to tell you. That's really
and they want to hear the big pressure. My first, let's say, 6 clients, like little tiny jobs, come do my kid's secondary bathroom, whatever. They were all Carton Hall moms. I had my son at Carton Hall. I was like, I was a nervous wreck at that school. You're
like, I don't want to walk around. Are people like hating my designs?
Yeah, like what if any of these ladies don't like what I do?
Right.
And they're going to tell all the others, and
then it's like,
my
name is Mud, and I'm out of the school.
I was scared, yeah. So that's how it started.
Does it feel like putting yourself out there, like 100%. As an artist, because it's like this is your aesthetic?
Yeah.
And it's like, what if they do hate it? Did anyone hate it?
No, those that all worked out. And then it became more because people would be like, oh, I like this. And I'm like, I can do a version.
Oh, so you
of
were
that.
just like doing your riff on it like a tear sheet.
So yeah, and just like and then I started getting more confidence, and I also didn't like that. I was like, I don't want to knock off anybody.
That just feels bad, right?
And I have my own style, so I made a promise to myself, like I do not have to get all these jobs or any jobs or whatever.
Right.
And so I'm going to do it my way.
I love that you had that from the outset, because a lot of people, there's like a scarcity thing where people get nervous, and I did this before in my business where I'm like, I'll take every client.
Yes. I
even
started
though it doesn't
that way.
feel like a fit, because it's just like, oh.
And I had some non-fits, and
right, and you learn.
The whole process is learning. I'm still learning. You learn mistakes.
No, I know, which is so great. And are you really though, like you're saying that right now?
Yeah.
But like if you make a mistake, I don't know what that would be.
It
but
costs a lot of money.
Okay.
Is what happens.
And does it feel like? Do you feel bad at all ever? Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you like throw shade at yourself? Or are you pretty resilient? Like, are you like really meaning what you're saying about learning through mistakes?
Well, like for instance,
it sounds great.
Learning through mistakes. If let's say I order a sofa and something goes wrong, and I've got to reorder it.
Okay.
And so that's a $10,000, if not more, mistake.
Okay.
So I will never do that. Like I just call it literally my master's. But again, now I'm 10 years into it, and I'm not. Where I'm still making a ton of mistakes, but not those kind.
No.
We're pretty well-oiled machine, but it takes a long time. And
but you gave yourself grace, and you still do, right?
I mean, a little. I mean, I'm not really. I mean,
no,
I'm
it
pretty
it
hard
sound
on
really
myself.
good. But yeah, I mean, like, because I just wanted to like get the tips so I could learn from you. But I am. But I'm just saying, like, is there like a secret wand that we like go? Mistakes are great and feel really good about them.
That I do. I think mistakes are for sure happening and necessary. I can't stand when people throw it out there that doesn't happen. Like my other designer friends and stuff. Like, oh no, that's never. I'm like,
no.
Okay, forget it. I'm not gonna go down that path.
No.
Yeah.
How much like are you able to do your unfettered like design anywhere except like do people just let you run?
Some.
Okay.
But I also know my audience. Like I have a lot of, like right now, probably half my jobs are repeat clients.
Okay.
So that is so awesome because I've already gone in the battlefield, not battlefield, but with
them, like on the same team in the foxhole.
It's so nice. I can just go and I know they're loves, I know their hates, but that's the easy button. Wait, tell me what your question was.
Like
again.
it was like, does anyone ever just let you do your unfettered Raili vibe?
Well,
like no holds barred besides yourself. Like
my
for your
idea
home.
house. That's why I do it.
Okay. All right. So tell me about that.
So the first one we did was in Costa Mesa. You've been there.
Yes, love.
And that was a full-on idea house. No one's
Okay.
ever done an epoxy-colored sink. I did some
The cement pendants or a concrete pendants, was it? Like
no, that's a different project.
Okay,
I just
okay.
had some vintage pendants, but a lot of people don't want to use pine. I'm obsessed with pine, so I did the whole house in pine, and that was really like that was my sheet of no's.
Okay.
Turned
Yes.
into my sheet of yeses in that house. And for the most part, I'd say it's a laboratory, and
Right.
did like there was some odd, like I had tile that color in
Yes.
the back of my bar, which that one would ever no one would ever let me do that.
Right. Was it with that cool like a floral, like the dark floral? Yeah.
It was like a really pretty dark floral, but then I
Yes.
had one row of
Just a pop.
Well, guess what? Now you know how many times I bought that pink tile now
everyone
because
wants.
but once you do it and you get sort of the validation, and then it's off to the
Do you think
races.
do you think the clients get the validation too of seeing it like you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Seeing it on-
they
yeah.
see it like they see you do it, they see it in a magazine, they're like, okay, I can do that
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Like it's almost like you're good.
Yeah.
You're fine. Go
In
ahead.
fact, we're doing a house right now, and that was one of the requests. Like, I just want this little hit
pink
of
moment.
hot pink, and I'm like, got it. Like I never had that before.
Right. No
We
one's
did that.
asking for the hot pink
No,
backsplash or something.
Absolutely not.
Are you doing an idea house now?
Yeah. And-
Is it a different one?
Yeah, we sold Costa Mesa,
Okay.
and we're now doing one down at the beach. It's a 1,000 square. It's going to be my house.
Okay.
So that's another one.
Okay.
And I took a trip up to the Sea Ranch, and do you know where that is?
Yes,
Have you
I've been there, yeah.
Right. It's
amazing.
I spent, I don't know how, I filled my camera roll up with every corner and every detail. Like, they just.
Is
they
there
nailed
anything
it.
at Sea Ranch that didn't age well, in your opinion?
No.
Okay. I'm just curious.
No, because it's super graphics,
Yeah.
which is so me
Yes,
anyways.
yeah.
So I'm doing all this natural stuff, and then I'm putting super graphics on it, which is
Love.
the opposite, and that they do it so well. So I'm very upset. So it's very Sea Ranch, high loaded on color and super
Love
graphics.
it. With it's interesting because when you talk about wood and like you talk about pine, like
Yeah.
and people don't like it, is it because it doesn't perform well because of the knots, or
I
is
think
it sappy? I don't know.
This is cabiny, and I'm like, I don't think
they
it's
think
cabiny.
it's like a low rent or like it pigeonholes you.
It's so funny. Pine's the most expensive. Pine's like more expensive than oak.
Yeah.
I'm like, but you have the right. You're on the right.
That people
track.
don't think it's like
A high
I
end
want,
enough
yeah,
or
white
sophisticated
rift oak,
enough, yeah.
whatever, blah
But I
blah.
love pine.
So, the Pebble Beach project.
Yes.
Which again, everyone has to buy surf
That's-
style at home
that's
because
Pebble
yeah.
Beach
So
right
I'm
there.
just gonna. I don't know
That's
how
the
to
entry.
do it. You know, I'm learning the
Yeah,
camera.
you got it.
Yeah. Wood is like there's mixing of woods
Oh,
in
tons.
So like what inspired that? Was that like a precursor to this like Sea Ranch thing or what was it?
A little bit. I had only seen pictures of Sea Ranch. I hadn't been there before we started this. But one thing that I feel like as a designer, you're a therapist and I'm a salesperson because I don't want everything to match. Can you imagine walking in the house, like the ceiling's the same as the floors, the walls,
And you don't
as
want
the
them to
table?
ask for like a Raili Clasen, like what you did, or Clasen, what you did at Idea House. You're like, I don't want to recreate that. Like that was done.
Well, yeah. Well, I haven't finished it yet.
No, but I mean the
other
Costa
one.
Mesa
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like you don't want to recreate that exact same
Right.
house because it's like, let's move it forward.
Yeah.
Right?
And then mixing of the woods. First of all, the architect calls out a lot of the wood. And then as long as it doesn't fight, they work well together. It's like metals. I don't mind doing a brass and a
Right.
oil red bronze
It's in the
a
same
bathroom.
family.
And they play. I always say, like, where's the friend? So
Yeah.
if we have all brass, and then I'll tell the girls, I'll be like, I don't want to do a brass mirror in
Right.
this bathroom.
Where's
we
the
have so
friend?
much brass. So I'll go, let's do oil red bronze, but it needs a friend. So TP holder, oil red bronze.
Right. So it's not just like hanging out
everybody-
by itself on the
No,
schoolyard.
it's
It
very
needs to
kumbaya.
bring up a friend. Yeah. So how does the process work with an interior designer for real? Like for people that haven't had the pleasure of working with one, like I know they're all different scopes, but let's say it's like a whole house.
A whole brand new
remodel,
house,
right?
which is what we do.
Right. So like where do you start?
Oh my God.
Like you said therapy. Do we do a therapy session together?
Well, pretty much. I mean, first of all, like the clients come in, we all meet, because personality is a big thing
Huge.
too. And And so we all meet, and then we kind of give them the assignment. Like, if you guys want, like, our style. Now I have over 100 projects, so
right. So
people
you can
know
see
what we do.
the vibe.
But my second one is like, if you've got things you like for instance, this super cool house we finished. I don't know if you own the CDM home tour, but it was on that. And he's like, I love your style. There's no wallpaper in here. I don't really like color. I'm like, okay, dude.
You're like, am I the fit for you? Did you see my work?
But we did.
Yeah.
We kumbaya'd it all the way to the end. And it was so awesome.
So, okay. So with that, I have to ask, and like, again, not talking about the specific owner, but the situation, when you hear we don't want color and wallpaper, are you like, for a minute, are you like, should we date? Like, we even?
Not with this particular
okay.
client. Because I knew I was going to love him to death. And it was an Eric Olson, which I work with.
And he would take,
nonstop.
you felt like this client would take other chances.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
I did a green shower door. Like that. That was my.
Did you have to sell that? Was it the green shower door that's like the iron one, but the green is the actual, so it's not like solid green. It's just like, which I thought was gorgeous.
Yeah, I love that.
So how'd you sell that?
Well, first of all, he was an easy sell because it wasn't a bright green or anything. But then Eric, because I work really closely with him.
Yes.
And he called me.
He's an architect for those who want to know.
Eric Olson's the architect.
He's amazing.
And he calls me like the day before they're like, are you sure? And I'm like, Eric, I've never been so sure. Anything, please stop asking about this green door. Just give it to me.
Yeah.
Because we like, he'll see like, oh, is this too much wood or is this the plaster? Okay. Like, we really run things off.
I didn't know that actually, is that a typical designer-architect relationship? Okay. So you're more collaborative
We're so collaborative.
Versus like an architect doing, here are the plans, and then
Some I never meet. I just get a stack of plans, we bring them home, and then.
Is that harder, I would think? Or no?
It's just different.
Yeah.
Like, it's all on us. And with Eric, I love having a partner. I love having a partner that I respect their style so
yes.
much.
And I'm sure the projects benefit from the collaboration.
Yeah, but they're very different. If you look at Eric and I's projects, they're warm, they're dark, they're a lot more moody. And then if I'm left to my own, then there's more light, bright, and color. Like, he has this, our offices are next to each other. You walk into his, you're like, I need a flashlight. Yeah. It is so cool.
I need a headlamp. Where are you, Eric? In the back.
And then he walks into my office. He's like, so happy in here.
Yeah, what is this?
White and, and plywood. And so we take those cues off each other, but at the end,
but the alchemy is really great when it comes together.
Mm-hmm. It's really great.
How do you? So I've seen, obviously, you have like Montana projects.
Yeah.
You just were up in San Francisco to start a project, which looks like it's a Victorian on the outside, and
it's 1905.
Yeah, Baja. So it's like, how do you interpret like your style in these wildly different settings?
I know. If you look at my Instagram, I'm like, who is this person?
Is it hard?
It's just. It's not hard for me because I can't explain it, but if I go into a house, I'm like, okay, we're leaning into a 1905 Victorian. We have to.
Right.
I'm not going to make it a beach
cottage. It would seem weird, no.
Yeah. And same with my old Spanish ones. I've done 2 like 1920s. I've got to lean in. I love that style. But you're not going to it's probably not going to like have a surfboard and wallpaper.
No.
It's going to be what it should be.
So you could still
happy juice.
Right. So you can infuse the happy juice and like maybe some font and some graphics and all that into that, but honoring the vibe.
Yeah.
Baja is actually all your work is a good example of that. I think when I think about like Spanish or that kind of style, and I think of Baja, I think that even though you're surf, like it still honors the site and the architecture.
Yeah, totally.
So this is interesting, and it might be like you can't explain it because it just happens for you, but like you go to San Francisco this past week.
Yeah.
You walk into this 1905 Victorian, and like, are you just like it sounds so woo-woo, but are you like feeling the house?
Yeah, 100%. So I asked them if I could get in early because they live in Park. They're also a repeat client.
Okay.
So they moved to Park City during COVID, but his business really is in San Francisco. So I asked him, can I just have the house alone? I know that sounds so weird.
But this is what I want to dig into. Like, are you just kind of?
I knew we were going to be rushed when they got there, so I was like, so I sat down in different rooms, and I don't get the chance to do this, but with that house, I've never done a San Francisco house. I've never done a Victorian.
It's huge.
It's like
it's a huge
I've got to get this,
right?
And it took me a while, but then like seriously, like 3 days later, Pinterest boards are our life. Like I feel like we're presenting to them tomorrow.
So you don't do a Pinterest board because it would seem like a little assumptive to like do it before you go to the house. Like,
Yeah.
you need to go to the
have
house,
to go to the
right?
house.
So you go to the house. When you're sitting in those rooms, like I'm not saying that you're like, doing a seance, but I'm just like, are you just like getting a vibe?
Yeah.
Like, are you looking at what? Light, space?
Yeah,
like, what do you do?
Like I walked into their master, and I've been staring at the pictures from the real estate thing.
Right.
But it's so different. And,
it doesn't have any dimension in pictures a lot of times.
But I just get excited like for a new opportunity like that because it's a challenge. I mean,
yes.
we've
And you
got
like a
such
challenge?
Okay.
Okay.
I love a new challenge.
Is that where like the growth is happening then for you? Like, is that what drives your growth, is like a new challenge and a new?
No, I think the growth has happened organically. Like we're still a boutique. I have no desire, 0.0 desire to have a
like
50
a massive
person firm.
right.
No chance. I'm not a great manager. I very much have been so like over the years, obviously some people haven't worked out and some have, but the designers I have right now are so independent, and they've been with me long enough to where they just know. Like I almost
It's like a shorthand.
It is, and they know, they've been on enough projects of mine that they can kind of take it and run. And then we all circle back. I still am in every design meeting, but they come pretty darn. They come with loaded guns with good stuff.
And so you're learning from them too.
For sure. Well, I'm learning from them. We
like you're directing it, but like you're also like they might come to the table with an idea. You're like, that fits into our like vibe.
They're like, I have this idea, and I tell them, I'm like, put all the crazies,
like go
do it
big.
And I some of them I'm going to think you're crazy, which clients do for me anyways, and I know there's going to be something juicy in there.
Yeah.
So
I love that. So you're encouraging that.
Oh, for sure. And I'm like, but I also have to tell them, don't be bummed if I'm like, absolutely not, because
right, because
I do
not
that.
everything's going to work, and that's what you. But that's what you have to do. My business is the same way, where I like don't get discouraged if I not shoot down because it sounds so negative.
No, I say
but
that.
if some things aren't, going to work, but like I want to hear your ideas. So San Francisco, you're there, you're vibing it. So then you go back with your team and there's like Pinterest Bonanza.
Palooza. Yeah.
And so everything.
But we don't like, we just do that for inspiration. And then we show them, like, for instance, there's this, in 1905, you had sitting rooms and there's so many rooms. And, so then we'll go, okay, this room, this is our vibe. And we'll show them like 20 photos of how it might all work together.
Right, like inspo.
Yeah. And then same with the next room. And we can't do it all. There's a lot of rooms in this house, but then we'll go to the next thing. And then we're off to the races. Like after the first reactive meeting we show them our ideas. You get a read. Like they're like, no, that's not our deal. I'm like, great, let's take all that off the table. This is what we're going for, but maybe not blue. We like green. Okay. It's so, after that meeting, it's so easy.
Yeah.
I mean, not easy.
That must have been a really big idea because like an ambulance just went by and I feel like that was like, saying that like the lights are on. Like we were like, that's like a 3-alarm fire idea.
Yeah, I totally.
And with that kind of house too, like, do you knock down walls or can you not?
No, we're not going to knock down walls. We're going to pull a lot of stone off. They had a bad remodel, like, I don't know, 20 years ago. But we're not going to, no. It's too historic. Yeah,
I don't know, because you want to honor the site, but also like the way people live today, does it feel like tight?
Well, no, I don't think it feels tight, but like think about 1905, like the amount of molding and all hand
the detail,
carved,
like
and
layer on layer on layer.
I just can't. I'm not going to pull it off. It's gorgeous,
Oh, so that's interesting. I cannot wait to see this project done because like, how are you going to do that?
Well,
how's it going to look? Are you going to like paint it the craziest color?
We're going to paint it some color. They're not afraid of color. In fact, they're not afraid of color.
Okay.
We'll see. I mean, we're literally at stage 1. We haven't even done it.
Yeah, but I mean, like obviously, I'm excited because I like follow you, and I'm like just in San Francisco.
Yeah.
How much of the client should show through the house versus like Raili?
Well, if they've hired me at this point in my life and in art, they know what they're getting into.
Yes.
They know they're going to get pushed. And I'm also, at my age, I'm also okay with no. Like I have fun with it. Like they'll be like, no, that's not our money. And if I fully believe in it, you better believe my sales hat's coming on.
Right.
Like if I'm like,
I love that you have that skill.
To
trust
do
me.
This. You've got to do this.
Can you give me an example of like where you sold something and it worked?
What did I do?
What about the Giving Tree thing? Like the Giving Tree line that was in the house?
That was their idea because they loved the Giving Tree.
Loved it. Okay.
Okay, let's see. So, okay.
I mean, obviously the green door is an example, but it's like
Well, for instance, okay, if it's paint, and I'll be like, you guys, we have got to do, oh, I know. Yeah, we did this is an easy one, but in Baja, she had an arch and it was all white.
Yes.
And I'm like, let's take that arch and do yellow.
Yellow.
And then she was like, I don't know. I'm like, so at this point, I sell it. And if I still can't sell it,
right.
I go, paint it. If you hate it, I'm paying
it's on
for
me.
it. Yep, it's on me. So I do that. I've done it.
And spoiler alert, it worked amazingly
Yes,
well.
cute.
Get the book and see it because it's
cute.
like, it's so amazing. And I love that color. It's so happy.
It's fun. Auric, whatever. I can't even say
gorgeous.
it.
Yeah.
So there's an example. And
Okay.
of course it's still yellow. So, but I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is in
love
those
that.
cases. Tile, ugh,
Well,
that's a too big of a money where my
Yeah.
mouth is. But I do that on every project for sure. They'll be like, I'll see it. I'll see the body language. Like they're looking at each other like, is she crazy?
They're like, should we say something?
And should we say something? And I'm like, okay, listen, I know, I see it. I see it in your eyes.
Yes.
This is just,
Like, trust me.
We're going to talk a little bit more about this. On the flip side, when they bring me ideas,
You're like, no.
and like I want this chandelier, and they'll show me a photo, and I'm like, I mean, again, you have a great sense of humor too. Like I'll be like, you guys, Vegas wants their and
Wants their
once you say
fixture
that,
back.
it's done.
Like, yeah, Liberace wants his hardware
Liberace
back.
wants the hardware back, and once you say that, it's in their mind. It's a little mind trick. I just gave everybody a hint.
I love it. I know. It's like, sales 101 with Raili
Sales
as well.
101.
So you're getting a bonus on this podcast of both like sales acumen and design. Is there anything that you, like, what's the farthest you've pushed something so far? Like the craziest you've done?
Gosh, the craziest. So again, it's like in my own idea houses, but for the most part,
Maybe
like,
not crazy for you, but crazy for like the average consumer.
well, like I did a whole wall of single swim fins,
which
behind a
looks
painted
so
stripe.
great.
Oh, painted stripes on reclaimed wood in my old
Yes,
house.
love.
Those aren't easy things to, because those aren't easy to take off if it doesn't
Right.
work.
No. Right. What about the wall? I mean, I don't think it's out there, but I think it's brilliant.
Count Your Blessings
Yes.
wall? Yeah.
Do you want to give a shout out to the artist here for that?
Yeah, Matt Allen.
Okay.
So we bought that Lido house and it had this tall ass wall.
Love.
And I'm like, what do we do? I have a hard time with drywall. I just like, what we got to do
still was
something.
too
I can't
much.
stand it. Yeah. And Ryan, my husband, got on Instagram. He's like, how cool is this? And it was this tiny little print
Of Count Your Blessings?
tiny little print. Within I kid you not, 5 seconds, I DM that guy. I'm like, can you do it on a 20-foot wall? And he's like,
That's going big, Riley.
no.
He
No,
said
he
no?
didn't say no. He's like, I don't
like, "Are you
think so.
crazy?"
He goes, this print is like 6 inches, So
You're like, blow it up.
2 days later, I got him some scaffolding. He and a buddy came and they did the wall. And like, so that was pushing it.
I thought it was super bold. Like, I'm not saying it was like out of line, but I'm just saying like I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
Yeah, it was just.
I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
And that actually the master in that I will never forget it either because of like this ombre vibe that
green
happened.
thing,
The green. Yeah. I was like, I've never seen it. And I was like, I'm just pulling it up from like my visual memory is so set on that place.
Yeah.
And what you did there, which is so cool. All right, you brought up your husband, Ryan.
Yeah.
What's it like to work with your husband? Because I know that he like obviously had this great job at Vans, great career, and now he's working with the team.
Yes.
Yes.
And they all love him much more than they love me. He's the most calm,
Do you
kind.
get jealous? I wouldn't want to work with my husband and have them love more. Like what? I'd be like,
but
no.
It's just his. I don't know if you've met him. He's such
I
a
haven't
good
met him,
guy.
but the vibe I'm getting is like chill, but like
He's
knows
chill,
what's
but he's
going
thoughtful,
on.
and he puts everybody in front, but yet he's strong personality, which keeps me
Which you
from
need.
not, yeah. So he's in the shoe business for like 20 years, I guess, and more than that, and he was at Vans and Vans. I mean, they were
Yes,
struggling.
correct, yeah.
And I could just tell like he was
done.
He was just like. He was just not. He loved it for so long, and then at that point, my business was out. It was out of.
You're like, I need help, basically.
Because guess what I was doing? Insurance. I was doing, like getting like we had employees. So I'm doing like
that's not your
sexual
highest and
harassment
best.
stuff. I'm like,
Training. You're like somebody help me on the ops,
payroll,
the operations,
taxes, sales tax. I mean, it's a big job. So he was at our front room. He was at our table. I could just tell he was just like on another Zoom call. I'm like.
Did you bring up the idea?
Yeah, well, we had talked about it for a long time, but it wasn't ready. But then our business, we had 1 year. I don't want that year again, but we were all busting at the seams. Like, it was too much. And we took on a hotel, which was so awesome, but
yes,
it needed 10 people full time.
Yeah, and and that's the hard thing with having a small business that blows up, is because it's like, do you staff first or get the business first?
No, you got to get the business.
You got to get the business first.
But then I was like, okay, well, I don't want to hire people for a year. It took a year to do it, or maybe 2 years, because this is crazy. So anyway, he came in with that. It was great. So the answer to your question is, like, we get along great. It takes working with your husband takes out a little bit of the thrill of, like, coming home, like, well, how was your day? Like, I know exactly how your day was. I know what you ate for breakfast, lunch.
Yes.
I know, when you peed. I know everything.
Yeah. Like, where there's no mystery in the day.
So we have to work, but we get along really well, and
I think it's a success story. Like, I love hearing that the time was right. Something told you both that the time was right. You took the leap, and it's worked out great. And I think obviously it says a lot about your relationship that you can make that work. Like,
we can. It's different. It is different. And a lot of people were like, how do you do it? And I'm like, it's, we just got to make time for, I spend a lot of time with my girlfriends. He has a great group of guy friends. Like, we have
you
to
have your own lives, and then you
stuff.
come together on stuff that doesn't work too, which is great. So, like, this is kind of where I want to take it. Like, and I know we're wrapping up-ish, but I'm inspired by the fact that you all work together. I think it's super cool. How do you stay inspired, not in your marriage, but, like, with design? Like, where do you get, because to me, like, you're the one that's blowing everyone's mind. Like, I always think of you as, like, that emoji with the mind blowing. So I'm like, if you're blowing everyone's mind, like, who's blowing your mind? And, like, where are you getting inspiration?
Oh my God, you would not believe it. Like, if I showed you my phone, I just was in New York. Like, I'm taking photos,
I saw you taking photos of, like, store fixtures and wall treatments and
like
the
how
ground.
someone hangs a curtain. Like, I just pay attention to that stuff. New York blows my mind always.
Okay.
Like, stores, bathrooms. Because the Chic Hotel bathrooms, some of the coolest
do it up.
design. Sea Ranch, because I'm so into California natural.
Yes, it's, like, perfect.
But I know it's so stupid to say travel, but it's travel. It's getting
it's
out
not
of Orange
stupid.
County.
It's like
even LA.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's kind of what. And then Pinterest blows my mind. I mean,
do you spend a lot of time on there?
Uh-huh.
Is it, like, fun?
Uh-huh.
Do you feel like you're playing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know work is work.
I go crazy. I'm doing a house in Mammoth. So we're doing to the kitchen, and I almost start crying when I saw this photo, because I was like, it was so out of the box. I don't know who did. I think it was from Russia. Russia design is so good.
Seriously?
Yes.
Okay, that's like something I didn't expect to hear today.
Me, same.
But I love it.
And I can't read the captions, but so like, when I see something like that, like, I'm sending it to the team. I'm freaking out. I'm showing everyone that'll look like it's a kitchen island, but it's like, I get really, really excited about finding stuff like that.
Do you feel like to me, like, everyone's like, oh, my kids are always like, I don't want to do what you do because you work so much. And I said, it doesn't feel like work. Yeah, sometimes it does. Some days.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
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 Especially when you do the operation stuff, which I suck at. I'm not good at managing people, and I'm not good at doing the ops stuff. I'm not good at the payroll and the this and that. It's not my thing. But does your work feel like play on the best days? Like, does it feel like passion? Does it feel like fun? Does it feel like discovery? Like, what is it?
The most fun.
Yeah.
Like my heart is full. That is on fun. That's on good days.
No, I know. There's
days when I walk in, and Carrie, who basically runs our company, we all kind of work for her.
Thank you.
And she'll sit down, like, here's our 4 things. And those days are like, and payroll, or the first of the month when we do all the invoicing.
It's a lot.
Like, I need a martini lunch after that.
Right.
So those are days I don't love, but the days I'm like, the other day I was sitting down, because my girls do a lot of the work, because I'm running a business, I'm marketing, I'm selling.
Right, and you're the visionary, so you got to keep the ideas coming.
Yeah. So when I sit next to them, sometimes I stop and I'm like, this isn't lost on me. Like, I know I'm a designer, I know you're a designer, but us coming together and having this symbiosis and coming up with the most awesome ideas, in my opinion, is pretty much a great joy. It's like being in love.
Right.
You're just like,
when it flows, it flows. It feels great, right?
Yeah,
and you feel like the day can just pass you by before you know it,
100%.
right?
I work every day, all day, but not literally on a computer.
No, but like,
I'm always
being inspired, going somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. like any parting kind of like words of wisdom for people when they're thinking about like, I don't want to know what their favorite color of white is. Cause like, I mean, I do, but I don't. I do, but I don't have enough because I kind of want to know.
But
I kind of want to know, like, what should your house feel like? Like at the end of the day, like when you have clients walk in a house or you're telling me like, we haven't worked together yet, but you're like, if your house doesn't feel like this to you, like you should do something.
Okay.
Like what?
I have a good answer.
Okay, good. Like what should it feel
so
like?
I'm going to just narrow this down to one tiny little detail.
Yes.
Entry. Like at the entry of the moment, or not the moment, the entry that I go to most houses.
You're talking like physically,
And
the
the
experience
entryway.
of and the physical place at the entry.
Yeah. Well,
okay. Entryway.
The entryway. So like 9 out of 10 entryways are, they put a little table and they put a mirror.
Yeah,
and that's
it's a
their
formula.
entryway. It's a formula. Like 9 out of 10 probably. I try to get like more commercial, like when you go into a cool retail store or a restaurant, like you need to make that entry.
It's a moment.
It's a moment because we're not going to go crazy a lot on, like I'm not doing colorful couches and the houses, the main spaces are going to be they're a tiny bit of playful, but not
right.
like you don't
more
want it to
function.
be like a circus. Yeah.
Right.
So, but your entry is where all the fun can happen, and it's a tiny moment. But you walk in, and I cannot drive that home enough. Where get rid of that table, get rid of the mirror, unless the mirror has some fun saying
words on it, right?
Yeah, tile it or take the hardwood floor you're using and put it on its side. Like tip it a little bit and give it a moment where you've got a little welcome or a killer, crazy light fixture, a vintage rug. I mean. Pull it, do a little mini library. I did that in
I love that.
Like mini, like just like who's going to think of no one's going to sit there and
read the book.
No,
but I mean, it says
library.
something about. And do you want it to say something like not only you're like welcome, and this is a place where you might have like you've literally you've had it wasn't an entry, but it said no KNOW fun.
Yeah, no
like,
fun. That was
So I feel like you want people to feel something.
Yeah, that's a fun one for an entry because hopefully you are fun and this is going to be a fun time.
Yeah. So like you want people to feel something.
Well, yes, and I'll give you an example and then I'll be done with the story. But I did a house in Coronado and I wanted
love
the yellow piano one, and I needed some words or a saying, and they were like, we wanted to say like be thoughtful, and I'm like, if I walked into your house and you told me to be thoughtful,
you're like, I'm out of here. Is this therapy session?
I want So we did like a picture, big, huge picture of Abe Lincoln, and like said something like honestly or something like funny. Like I don't want to be told what to do. No. I want to either be like hello. I love hello. Hello is such a cheerful word.
Yes.
And a song saying like celebrate good times.
I love that. In that pool,
entry.
There was something in that pool house too. I feel like.
I can't remember.
It was neon.
Oh.
Can you tell like
Queen.
I'm a super fan? Yeah, I just want you to know that I've like your
this
whole
real life? Yeah.
portfolio resides in my head.
That's a great one too.
Rent
Is this
free.
real life or is this
Yes, that was
in
it.
neon? Like,
yes.
So those make me, so you could tell I'm like all jazzed up on entries, but those are the moments you can have so much fun and such an impact, and then you can go mellow like into the house.
I feel like too for people like on any budget can do something fun in the entry because it's the smallest space.
Go buy vinyl decals at Michael's and put do a song all the way around or something.
I mean, that's rad. Like, so it doesn't matter the budget, and it's all about people feeling welcome and also maybe giving a glimpse into who you are.
Yeah,
right.
It's something I like funny. I mean, I hang out with funny people, and I want to go to their house
and have fun. And they're hilarious.
And I don't want to have it say like, like
be thoughtful.
Like those. The plaques that
live, love, laugh.
Well, yeah, or eat.
Yeah.
But I mean, those are great too. But they're expected, and so like let's go off kilter a little bit in the entry. So that's my two.
So is it? I don't know if it's ironic that we're like finishing with about talking about coming into something. So we're like ending at the entry.
Yeah, we're ending at the entry.
But I love talking to you. I always love your energy. I'm like so thankful that I've been in your orbit for however long.
Can I tell the listeners how? Do you remember how we met?
No, go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to tell you. So I was doing the Warwick House. We were neighbors, I think.
I live on Cornwall, but ish. But
when you were
remember
walking,
the Warwick.
you had the weenie dogs.
Correct. All of them.
You and I don't know. You came by. Maybe we had a mutual friend. I was out front. We just finished this house. And it was like, I'm new to the design world. That was my second house, And I remember you telling me that you wrote for
Oh, Riviera or something.
And I like dropped I'm like, oh my God, I wonder if she can give, that's where I was going, like, oh, I just met a celebrity, like editor.
Ha ha, LOL.
And you were but you were awesome. And that's, I remember, and we've known each other since.
Yeah, it's
but
crazy.
We met in the street, I think.
Yeah, we did, which is probably appropriate. But I just love your energy, and I love what you're doing to push things. And it does remind me, like when I read your foreword and about like growing up here on the coast, because I grew up here in Newport, it just feels like your design kind of, it's so interesting. It brings me back at the same time that pushes things forward. So I like love that like liminal space where I'm like, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm stoked about it because there's like references to like what I grew up with and like, oh my God, what is this over here? She's pushing the envelope. It feels good. It feels like growth. It feels like dynamism. It just feels rad. So
that's awesome.
Thank you for being you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
You.
I was so curious.
Like freaking hot pink tile and a hot pink
we
coat.
do what we need to do. I thought intentionally this morning, I'm like, I got to wear a Raili color. So
well, you got it.
Thank you. I'm glad I nailed it.
There it is.
Yeah, right. Surf style at home. Buy the book. I can't even hold it up. There you go. Thanks. I can't even make it work. Right. Thank you, Raili.
Okay. Thank you.
So fun to see you today.
Same.
All right. We'll
Thanks
see you
for having
everyone
me.
next time.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.